And then Kristen, I'll let you know once. Okay. Okay. And because Kristen is actually completely brand new to Michigan Hearts, Ann Arbor, I know that she's never done a cooking demonstration for our staff and providers at that location because we've included Michigan Heart to our StayWell Phase 3 pilot. I'm going to have Kristen kind of introduce herself, give a little bit of her background, how she ended up actually owning a business, because she owns 2 commercial kitchens in Michigan, which is awesome, and kind of her background and why she's so passionate about her work. So take it away, Kristen.
All right, hi everybody. So I am a nutritionist and master personal trainer. In between working those 2 jobs with my clients, I ended up starting a meal prep company on accident because I found, as probably a lot of you do, working one-on-one with people, that you can tell them things all day long, but that for them to actually do it is a whole other thing. So coaching clients sometimes isn't enough. Sometimes you have to extra hold their hand. And I had a lot of people asking me, oh, like, you give me all these recipes and this guidance, but I don't have time to cook. I don't want to cook. I go to the grocery store and get overwhelmed. All this extra stuff on their plate. The last thing they wanted to do was create their own food. So I started making meals for some of my own clients, and my business took off by accident. This was 5 years ago now. And so I own 2 commercial kitchens in Downriver. We specialize in anti-inflammation, so all of our food is gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and refined sugar-free. We home make everything from scratch, and we work only with local farmers, so everything that we use is sourced locally here. And I chose this cookie recipe for this today, just because of a lot of things that I hear with baking. People don't have time for it, they don't like to do it, and a lot of times when it gets tricky, like, you have to mix wet ingredients and dry ingredients separate and then mix them together, or you need a food processor, some fancy equipment, etc. People don't want to do it, so I tried to pick a simple, easy, very quick recipe that also you can tweak. So, like, if you have a nut allergy or any kind of allergy, this recipe is super easy to tweak a little bit and make it your own so that you can actually eat it. The samples don't have nuts in them. So I should have said that earlier. So those don't, but it was an option to add walnuts. So you can get some omegas in there for breakfast, but you don't have to. So the samples were super simple. It's just dates, tahini. That is a gluten-free brown rice flour. There's cinnamon and pink Himalayan salt, and that's literally it. That's all that's in these. So they're super easy. You can throw it all into one bowl. And I'll show you some of my changes, because you can change these cookies so much, which is nice because they're easy for a grab and go for breakfast that you can eat in the car at the office, and if they're not messy, they're not going to get all over your clothes or all over your hands sticky, etc. So I used almond flour today. If you want to keep these lower carb, you can go ahead and use almond flour, but you can use any gluten-free flour. So we use gluten-free brown rice in the samples. And then you have 1 cup of dates in these, and then we also have maple syrup. So if you want your cookie to be not as sweet, I have a replacement for the maple syrup. And then you have tahini in your samples. If you don't like the taste of tahini, or you don't want to use tahini, we can use an oil instead, or you can use a nut butter if you want to make these like a peanut butter date cookie or something like that. So when you chop your dates, you're going to chop 1 full cup of the dates. Try and make sure that they're pitted when you buy them, so you don't have to pull the pits out yourself. But if you want to pull the pits out yourself, they're super easy to do. So you just want to make sure that you cut the dates. Trying to see where the best camera angle is. Kind of thick here. You're not going to be biting into like a thick date like this. This is so when the cookies go in the oven, you'll see in the samples, they melt and they kind of get this like marble effect. So it's nice because it like spreads out the sweetness, which is natural sweetness, and the dates give you natural energy. So if you wanted to omit the maple syrup to lower the sugar, the marble effect on these is great. You will barely even notice that there's less sweetener in it. So we chop these up thick. So again, that makes it super easy because it's fast. And then the maple syrup. So if you wanted to omit the maple syrup, you could, of course, use some kind of plant-based sugar-free sweetener in liquid form if you wanted, like a liquid stevia or something like that in the same measurements. Or if you want to omit an extra sweetener completely, you can use some kind of dairy-free milk alternative. So I have almond milk. You could use oat or any kind of dairy-free milk that you'd like, and it would be the same measurements as your maple syrup. So we'll go ahead and put our almond milk in there because we'll do it like that instead. And then you have your tahini or your oil. So if you don't want to use the tahini, again, the tahini is in your samples, so you can kind of taste it a little bit, but the maple and the date kind of cover it up. But if you didn't want to use tahini, you could just use an oil. I have avocado oil here, or you could use an olive oil. And you'll do the same measurements for that as well. And again, with the tahini, if you want to write this down, if you wanted to make like a nut butter cookie or nut free, you could use sunflower butter, something like that. You could also use that in place of the tahini. And then I already have my cinnamon and pink Himalayan salt in here. We use pink Himalayan salt in everything that has more vitamins and minerals. So we use that in everything that we do versus table salt. So you'll go ahead and just mix those up, and then you're going to end up forming these into a ball. And you can just use like a regular sized mixing spoon, or you could use like a tablespoon to create your balls. But just make sure that you get these thick date pieces in each ball that you're rolling. And you'll set those down evenly on your pan. And then once the heat hits those dates, it'll create a marble effect for you. They bake super fast. They keep super well on your on your countertop or in your fridge. You can keep them for 7 to 10 days, or you could just keep them in your car. You could keep them in your desk at work, anything like that. So a nice midday pick me up because it will provide some natural energy. It's nice for a sweet tooth. If you have a sweet tooth, this will kick a healthy, or it'll kick it in a healthy way, a sweet tooth. And then great because you can mix all the flavors up, so you can kind of create your own little breakfast cookie just mixing these ingredients up. And no matter how you mix it up, it's still super fast, and you just throw it all into one bowl. So it's nice and easy for you guys. Hopefully you guys got to try the samples so far and liked them.
Thank you, Kristen. Does anyone have any questions? Kevin, Brian, Dr. Smith?
I had two questions. Is it tassimi or tassimi? What actually is that?
Tahini is a sesame paste. So you can kind of think of it like a peanut butter, but it's sesame seeds. So it's just like peanut butter, but it's sesame instead. Okay. So it's usually used in like Mediterranean dishes and things like that. It has a little bit of a different taste to it. So if you're not familiar with tahini and you got the flavor in the cookie, it was the tahini probably you're tasting. But it is great for anti-inflammatory, so that's why we like to use it in these cookies.
And then the second question was, making this batch, about how many cookies does it make typically?
The recipe that you guys have, it should make you around like 12 to 14 cookies, just depending on how big you make them.
Okay.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, yep. So it's nice because a serving size is 2 cookies. So you can have 2 breakfast cookies each morning, and if you made one batch, it would last you all week.
Kristen, do you roughly know like what the calories and fat intake is? Because I know you mentioned like 2 cookies is 1 serving. I mean, I know it might not be exact.
I don't know exact from the top of my head, but we do sell these in the store. And I want to say if you eat 2 cookies, I think it's like 260 or 280 calories. I'm not sure. It would also depend if you added the walnuts or you didn't, because sometimes we do and sometimes we don't.
Yeah. I could say the walnuts would add more. Is tahini, is protein in tahini as high or comparable to like peanut butter? Because doesn't it have protein in it?
It does have protein in it. I don't think it, I don't remember peanut butter off the top of my head, but this has 5 grams per serving.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So I would say, I think it's pretty comparable because I think peanut butter is usually around like 4 or 5 grams for a serving. So yeah, I would say it's comparable.
So that's probably like a good protein option for somebody like
Yeah.
myself, who right now I can't have, dairy or meat.
Yeah, some
So it's a
plant-based
good option
protein.
to have some protein in the morning. And I like the fact that it's
Yeah.
super, super easy and that you can make 12, so you can just have it for the whole entire day.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
And I just noticed that Dr. Hubbard joined us. Dr. Hubbard, did you have a chance to try the cookies yet?
Cookies? Where are cookies at?
They're spread out in all the break rooms.
Chocolate ice cream. So can't believe
In
you
the
didn't
break
sniff
rooms?
them out.
I will be trying them very shortly. Thank you. For
Yeah.
Okay,
If there's
great.
still any left.
Yeah, you're gonna have to beat me to it.
All right.
Brian already promised his to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I know the fruit goes quick.
So I don't know, and I'm gonna not talk about cookies, but Kristen, knowing that you also provide other options for busy individuals, if the physicians had a question or were looking for an opportunity to talk to somebody about, maybe either meal prep ahead of time for them or their family, is that something that you also offer as a service?
Yeah, that's the core of our business. So
Okay.
that's exactly what we offer. Yep.
And Jennifer, that's not against any that knowing that you've reached out to her, if the physicians wanted to look at her more on a sideline or the professional side outside of what she's doing right here, that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's absolutely okay. Actually, Dr. Agrawal reached out to me because she has some patients. And Kristen, do you remember specifically what the patients had? It was like cysts on their
ovaries?
Yes.
PCOS?
Yeah, so Dr. Agrawal, she actually personally reached out to me because of the high linkage between nutrition and that. And so she actually has already referred some of her patients who were looking for specific, like, whole food plant-based options to be delivered to their house at a reasonable cost. So that's something that Kristen's Kitchen does. Now, I know Kristen personally is whole food plant-based, but she does have patients that, do still eat meat or dairy. So that's why, as she mentioned earlier, their business really makes an effort to work with local farms. And she really takes a strong look at like how the animals are fed and raised versus, what you would find like at a typical grocery store.
Right.
Okay. So,
and I do have to say her meals are very affordable because I use them time to time for home delivery as well, like on weeks that I would be traveling or busy. And I mean, they're typically like no more than $10 a meal.
Correct.
Yeah, because that was kind of my next question, because most people think, if you want to go healthy, you have to have a lot of money to be able to make that happen. So it's nice to hear that it's fairly affordable as compared to going to McDonald's or other places.
Sure, yeah.
And I have to pitch that their bakery options, their healthy alternative bakery options, are seriously delicious.
Very popular, yes.
They're very popular. They have these like protein Oreo donuts, but they're not made with like real Oreos. But I swear, like, everyone loves them. I've even had like blue collar workers in factories who like refuse to eat anything healthy that loved them. So I highly recommend, everyone check out her website. It is on that recipe poster that Brian had sent out that was also attached to this team's invite meeting.
Brian and Dr. Smith, how would you say the cookie recipe stacks up with the stuff that you guys go over with Pritikin? Is it pretty comparable? Is it significantly different? I mean, what is your take? Because I know you guys, that's what we really kind of preach in the intensive cardiac rehab program.
Yeah, it's certainly very compatible with that. It's as you know, Pritikin is not entirely completely plant-based.
Sure.
It does allow some protein, but the bottom line is this certainly would fit in very well in a Pritikin type patient diet structure.
Right, and there are some, it's really finding some alternative sources for sweetness, like dates, rather than using those refined sugars. using a lot of those alternatives for, different kinds of flours that we used in this cookie recipe as well. So yeah, a lot of similarities. With the Pritikin diet, there's just there isn't a lot of meat. There's not a lot of salt. There's not a lot of oils. It's really focuses more on whole food, plant-based eating.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, Kristen, for joining us.
Yeah.
And again, you can find the recipe attached to the team's invite if you have not already had the opportunity. That also has Kristen's website for her 2 commercial Michigan kitchens. It's Fit Bites LLC. And then since nobody, I think, has had a chance to get to a cookie, hopefully they're not gone since they were dispensed amongst the 3 break rooms. But please feel free to email me and let me know your thoughts or something. If you have any ideas on the next cooking demonstration, any thoughts on food or sample that you think your providers and staff would enjoy, please let me know.
Were they samples in a small little plastic container?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know one of the break rooms, there's only one left. I probably lost out on that one, so.
Oh, okay.
I was
spread
wondering
them
what that
pretty
was there. I'm like,
evenly.
oh, that looks interesting. All right, I can.
Well, when you put food in the break rooms, it doesn't last long. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it goes before the expiration date. That's for sure.
yeah.
I know. Well, we'll make sure to get this video recording out via email to staff and providers who didn't have the opportunity to attend today.
No, good deal. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Kristen.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
Great demo.
Have a
Thank-
great day, you guys.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.